we're talking already because we do that. So I'm Crystal, the Mitten medium. This is Mandee Elam, and Mandee brought us a guest that I feel like I've known for a while, and I've stalked her probably for the past year because she's awesome. But Mandee, go ahead and introduce Ursula.
Absolutely. I am so excited and honored as always for everyone who just shows up and tunes into Spirit Speaks. If this is your first time tuning into this show, it's really that. Crystal and I and our guests tend to connect with spirit, and we allow messages to come through. And at any point you can ask a question or share an experience that you're having, and we'd be happy to support. So tonight we have an absolutely incredible guest who is super supportive of your life's journey if you're interested in that. It's my friend and business partner, Ursula Duffy. Hi, Ursula. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for
I feel
having
like we
me,
need
ladies.
sound effects so I can have like a
Dun, dun, dun.
So Ursula is not only one of the co-founders at Sea Goddess Healing Arts, but she has her own beautiful company called Ursa Alchemy, and she is a professional astrologist and aromatherapist. Urs, do you want to share a little bit more about yourself with us?
Yeah, so all of these things kind of came through my spiritual awakening process, which was very multi-layered, multi-year kind of journey that happened. And astrology was actually the last thing, like the missing piece that kind of came in that made everything else make sense. So it was really cool because I hadn't had my chart read until astrology came kind of back to me. It felt like a remembering process. And that was in late 2017. So it revolutionized my life in so many different ways. And it really helped me kind of put the aromatherapy part that I was getting, my guides were leading me down this one road. And then the last thing I had to do to get my certification was to write my research paper. And I had no idea what to write my paper about because I just felt like something was missing. And then boom, astrology came in. So I put the two together and wrote my research paper on astrological aromatherapy. So it's been a very long, winding road with, intuitive development practice. And that's sort of where I started. And then little by little, all the pieces kind of came in. And once I finished both programs, my astrology apprenticeship and my aromatherapy certification, which kind of happened simultaneously, which was also really interesting, I started practicing. And I've been doing readings for people since 2018. And it's my passion. I love it. It's I call my business Ursa Alchemy because I feel like it all kind of works through me to get people to realize their full potential and their life's path and why they came here. And we were just talking about it before. You can look at your birth chart as like your soul's lesson plan for this lifetime. So it's a great tool for self-awareness.
So important.
Yeah.
Because, well, we have like all different people. I mean, we all are channelers, essentially. All of us are channelers, but we're all channelers in different ways. And I think what's really neat about what you just said is how many of us, I mean, I do it on a daily basis where I see people come in and they're like, why? Because they get into the structure like this lady that I had earlier today. She had lost so many people within a 5-year period, and she's just like done. And she's like, why? And so it's one of those things where I feel like it's really important to be able to get some sort of mapping system, especially if you've been through some pretty horrific things in your life and don't really understand either why it took place or maybe why you would have contracted to be in that place or that situation to begin with. And so this is an aspect of this that I don't know a lot of people look into, understand, or even know exist, because all of my clients are kind of like just taking a shot in the dark, essentially, with how they come. They're like, okay, maybe I need a medium. I want to talk to somebody. But it's the layers. Like Mandee and I are always talking about, there's so many layers to healing, and there's layers to spirit, and there's layers to this. This is one of those layers that a lot of people, I don't think, look into as much as what they should. And it's probably one of the most amazing, important, I think, layers to look into, because it's also multifaceted if you have gifts yourself. And so how does understanding what you're talking about and what you do help people like me who are the empath?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, one of the things that my tagline right on my website is live in touch with your soul.
Mm.
So, I mean, we come in with this energetic imprint of that moment in time, when we exit the birth canal and everything's sort of, in the moon and the planets are all in a specific position. And then that's the imprint that we come in with. And then from that moment forward, everything continues moving. So I've been saying a lot in a lot of what we've been writing and things like that the only constant in the universe is change. And that's so true because everything's in constant motion. And then as the planets and everything kind of move and shift, it's all impacting our energetic imprint that we came in with in different ways all the time. So for empaths specifically, there's usually a lot of water element in the chart. So whenever I see that, I always make sure to mention, making people aware that they are an empath, that they take on other people's stuff, most times unknowingly. And we go through what that means, and it all depends. It's all, different for every individual, but I always recommend energetic protection when I see a lot of water. Working with crystals and stuff like that too, that offer energetic protection is something I usually recommend. And just learning how to ground your energy and kind of put that shield up, however many times a day you need to do it. So you're taking on less and being more conscious and aware of it.
So no, I swear to God, I won't read you. That's not what you're here for. And I don't feel like you are the person who wants me to do this.
You can if you want.
I'm literally okay, shush.
We're open to receiving all good, always.
Okay,
always,
I was gonna say because it's really cute because you're such a big energy. Your guides are tripping over here almost. But they're also this is why I said I felt like I knew you prior to, and for you guys, I've never met Ursula in person. I've just looked her up and I knew her through Mandee, and Mandee talks about her all the time because she absolutely loves her. And so it's almost like I feel like she's a soul sister that I've never met before. And I feel like our journeys have kind of intertwined in different ways with each other based on how my guides are giving it to me. So yours is a different path and it's a different journey. But kind of like Mandee and I, we've had very similar situations take place at different points in times. And it's yeah, that sucks. But they're almost making me feel like when you had this awakening process, it was at a kind of a dark place. They're making me feel like it was literally the light that woke you up and was
it was
Jesus, now I see. And it's just that epiphany moment is probably one of the scariest, most traumatic experiences that you will ever be in, because it's almost essentially being at the edge of a cliff and death is your only option if you don't do something different because you're in that dark place. But they're also making me feel like that leap of faith that you took was probably the most beautiful leap of faith. And it's not been perfect for you. They're commending you because they're boy, has she been through it. But at the same time, it's giving you kind of this perspective in your own analytical brain to make sense of something that your heart has always known to be true. You just didn't know how to see it until they opened it up to you the way that it had to make sense to you. And so I think that's beautiful because it speaks volumes as to how many people on this planet have gifts but don't know how the heck to tap in and make it make sense to them because they think it looks like this or like this. And here you are, different journey, different path, similar traumas, been through some crap yourself, had to go through it, just like these listeners that are here, and it's kind of that one door opened for you. And so do you feel comfortable sharing how you got to that door? Not necessarily with everything, but do you feel comfortable sharing your process of how you asked them to give you that clarity or something like that? Because I feel like you have a story. I'm just not going to ask you to share it because I feel like that's your business.
I'm happy to share.
I just want to say welcome to everybody who's coming on. And if you're just hopping in, this is Ursula Duffy, and she is a professional astrologist and aromatherapist, and she's sharing a bit of her journey with us tonight. And then we're going to be answering lots of questions that are astrology related. So if you have any, start thinking them up and writing them in the comments. And thank you for letting me interrupt.
So also
Thanks,
there
Mandee.
are some comments coming in. Chloe Cook, Christina White, Aubrey Walters. I can't see those comments. It's coming in as vasf.tech. So I don't know if anybody else can see those, but I can't see those on my end. So
I think they're on YouTube. I'm going to check it out behind the scenes over here and see if I can see them on YouTube.
okay, I might have to in the future get another phone and like watch it live so I can see all the comments that are coming in from other places. Thank you guys for teaching us, but I can't see your comment. I apologize.
But we will do our best to find them. So we'll
yes,
see what
yes.
In the meantime, Ursula is going to tell us a bit about her story.
Yeah, so it was a work situation, actually. That was kind of what was the, I guess, the threshold moment for me. I just recently exited the corporate world, and in my job that I was in for, I think it was like 5 or 6 years at that point in time, we just kept getting busier and busier, so we had to grow our team. And we hired somebody that presented very differently during the interview than the person that showed up to the job. And it was my responsibility to train this person and work most closely with this person. And every day at work, my life was a living hell because of this person. Not just because of what I already mentioned, but just terrible habits, just on the phone all day. It's a cubicle environment. I'm sure most people that are listening to this have some familiarity with that kind of situation. So just not a good person. So it all just started taking over me. I was bringing my anger home and my frustration home, and just kind of wondering, like, why did this happen? What is going on here? Why won't this person just leave? Why is this person in my life? And then it dawned on me. I was actually talking to my sister about it one day, and she's like, you should listen to this podcast. This might help you. And the podcast was called Psychic Teachers. They're actually still on the air after like 10 or 12 years at this point. And the first episode that I listened to was, Are You Psychic? Because it had been there my entire life, and I'm searching for meaning in this situation that was just a torture test by the time I had that breaking point. And it was just like, oh my God, everything just made sense. Just everything that I had sensed growing up. I lived in a house that had spirits in it. And it was just, those knowings, those precognitive dreams, everything. And I listened. I think I listened to every single episode, like their entire 9-year library at that point. And I just started implementing the practices into my life. And they teach you how to, wake up to your gifts and how you identify your gifts. All of it had to work with your chakras. That's kind of where I started, was just tuning into my own energy and learning about how to open them up, and, just learning like what all the clairs were and all of that stuff, and meditating. And the meditation was key in working through the situation. And I went through a lot of soul searching through all of it, and learning how to just send the situation love every day. And also how to clear some of the contracts that I had with this person that I learned about through the work that I was doing. And eventually one day she left. And
you
that was one of the happiest moments.
She just decided to up and scoot. Like, okay, we're done.
She's like, okay, my work here is done. So that was it. And then little by little, as I mentioned earlier, everything just kind of came in. Everything started pouring in. And then I had my own chart reading, and then I realized what my true path really was. So it was a very twisted and tumultuous and emotional and difficult journey, for sure.
I feel like authentic as well. Like the way that we get to do what we do is not, we don't just stumble upon it and say, oh, I want a new career and it's going to be cool and different. Like, of course, there are natural stirrings and callings to want to be a healer and to want to be, some sort of change agent in the world. But we find, I believe very much that many of us on our soul path, we find that purpose by just doing our own work, taking a look at our own shit, seeing what's happening, showing up, and then we start to find tools that help us, and we start to unlock and uncover a lot of our magic.
Yeah.
And, so I'm just bow to you, sister, because that's really authentic.
I think
Yeah,
it's really neat how it
was.
sounded. It sounds like such a cool stepping stone to like well, like she said, authentic. It's just like it was a smooth approach to the situation, whether or not it was a bumpy ride for you because you had to learn a whole lot, and that healing is never easy. And that coming to those realizations is also never easy because we would just like it to be like a one and done process. No, they're just a jerk and I don't want to. We would really like that to be the case, but it's so neat how it very much so flowed in the moment you decided to say, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's kind of key to the process is not being stubborn. And like, once you receive it, let it in. And then you have people, you did it so beautifully. I did it the opposite way. Still fight the process almost every single day. And they're like, are you kidding me? We're like 13 years into this, Crystal, get your shit together. And it's just, you know, I refuse to meditate. I know I do sometimes, but it's for very small times because that my ADD brain kicks in. And then it's like, I can't shut up. And I'm really trying to train myself. And I'm like, crap, but I've got this to do. And there's so many things that would make it a better journey if we all just listened. And that's a beautiful testimony as to this is what happens when you listen and start moving through the process. And it starts to build probably very quickly. So that's how they made me feel, was like your stuff built very fast once it finally clicked for you. And it's just finding the right door that fits, I guess, your key. Because a lot of people struggle in finding the right door and they don't know what's going to fit for their lives, essentially. So that's kind of the biggest process. So yours is really a cool journey when you really look back and think about it.
Yeah, it was.
It like
wasn't
Nightmare
before
Express.
that person. Totally. It was. And then there were a lot of really dark times going through it too, because it's dark night of the soul after dark night of the soul. And just like it's a lot of deconditioning too, because it took me from that moment until 4 months ago to get myself out of the corporate job. So even like that whole process was just like, okay, so I did all this and worked my ass off in school and got straight A's, and now I'm not supposed to be doing this? Like, what? What's going on here?
Rough. That's classic though, which I'm sure you
Yeah.
can speak to in people's charts. Like that's a
totally. Yeah.
pivotal paradigm shifting moment.
Yeah. So much deconditioning. And all the
that's
things
really
too,
fun.
like all of these things too, like the movies and all the stuff like makes us afraid. There's so much fear around psychic awareness. And I think that once I kind of got over that hurdle, I think my one assignment in my intuitive development class, the one I put off the most, was my mediumship reading. And it was one of the best experiences of my life, that first one, because I was so afraid.
For our
listeners
out there, there's often great reward on the other side of fear. And a lot of times our souls gently nudge us towards something and it'll come up as fear or block, but you cannot stop like the fire of curiosity that torches around it and eventually
seriously.
And so that's what's happening. It's so cool to have both of you here tonight, because that's what happened with Ursula, and then that's her with mediumship, and Crystal's a medium, and then that's what's happening with Crystal with astrology, and Ursula's an astrologist. So that's pretty cool. And I just want to say hello. We've got questions coming in. Our mermaid in the mountains, Lexi, is here. Happy birthday, Lexi! Her birthday's tomorrow. Sophia's got questions. Heather's got questions. Hi, Abby. So excited you guys are all here. Heather asked, my question would be, is my sign fire or water? So Heather, let us know what your sign or your signs are. And then we'll go through and read some of these comments too.
Yes. Everything. It's funny because like all the stuff that we're like talking about, I've experienced through both of my readings today. And also there was this like video that I watched. And I can't remember who it was, but like I came across it in the middle of something. I'm scrolling through Facebook and I watch videos every now and then. And it was like these three very, I don't know, biblical guys, I guess is how I'll say it. They were talking trash about people who do stuff like me and you. And like, if you look into the stars, you're a Satanist. like all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my Lord.
Put it on my tab.
There's
Right.
so
The
much
three wise
here
men
for
were astrologers.
I know.
Yeah.
They quite literally followed a star. I mean, they followed a map in the sky. So I
Yeah.
mean, it is
And
what
they
it
had
is.
and they had herbs that make essential oils. So
I mean, it's just like, it's so funny sometimes because I'm like, this is, you people are like, you're sitting here trash talking people, saying that they're the devil and judging them and being like, okay, but we're going to be good Christians and pray for you. I'm like, you just spent 20 minutes talking shit. You literally just damned yourself based on your own beliefs. But yes, let's pray for others, please.
hypocrisy.
Trust me. I mean, like, I'll pray for you and I need your prayers at the same time, but I trust that I'm not going to that hell you talk about. So let's just say this. But also, there's so many people who are raised. I had a client today. She's having a hard time opening up to her gifts because she was raised in a Southern Baptist family. And she's like, this is legitimately the devil. And those hardcore foundations really make us struggle. And it's really just a way to, like, you know, just have faith. Have faith in what? Like, what's the faith? How do we teach people to understand what the actual system is when it's like, you can't talk to this, you can't interact with this, you can't do this, only these people can, and you have to go to these people to get your answers? Well, isn't that essentially the same thing as going to a medium or an astrologer or an angel healer? There's like, what certifies this person but not this person, because they're all people off from the street. And so what makes it better or worse? It's just like, could we please just get to that hump where we're supposed to be, where everybody understands different, please?
Yeah.
I think
we skip the process.
We can't, unfortunately. I mean, eventually when we create our new earth here and co-create that together, but we're all paving the path and figuring this out. And Ursula really brought up the key. What I believe is like one of the biggest keys to that is the deprogramming and reprogramming. And we as small children, we're all broken people raising broken people. Everybody's got traumas and dramas and all kinds of bullshit out the fucking window. Sorry, excuse my language. And like, oh yeah, you shared that Ariana Grande thing. That was hilarious.
I was like, oh my God, take the mic away from me. I will say it again. Don't let me speak no more.
I never apologize for that. So clear out. But anyway, what happens is we as souls, we grow and we learn from our parents or our caregivers' actions and reactions, very little by their words. But then often as we start to grow, their words make an impact on us, whether it's how we think about ourselves, whether we think we're smart or beautiful or dumb or fat or ugly, whether we think, you know, this world does this or that. And there's so much of it. And as we grow and we're learning and we're reprogramming, and we've got to learn how to reparent ourselves a bit. We've got to learn how to forgive those who came before us, because they were really just doing the best that they could. And each generation, we really do get better and better. Like, there is a lot of like tension going on in the world right now, and things that, you know, we're all kind of like whining about and fighting about. But when it comes down to it, we've really we've grown leaps and bounds as a humanity. And even in the past, like 100 years, like we've got all kinds of different, though I'm not crazy about laws. Like, you know, we're not just like really, there is shootings, but it's not the same as it used to be, where we would just, you know, off with their head and we'll just drown this person. And women could get raped as much as we wanted. And, you know, women just barely got the right to vote 100 years ago, and sexual harassment laws 40 years ago. And so we're really coming pretty far, and it's not easy, but the best way or bridge in order to get there is to learn how to like just take a look and say, okay, you know what? These are all the things that I learned. This is what I want to take with me that's working for me, that's serving with me. And this is what I want to kind of release and let go. And the cool thing about what Ursula does is with that whole astrology thing, it's kind of, we get a little bit of like a predestined like soul map a bit. And then we have these times in our chart where we have opportunities to work on some of these soul lessons, where it's like, okay, veil is lifted. You get to see the truth now. And you can like go down that and check that out. Or you can take this path and maybe keep repeating those same things that aren't serving you anymore. And just as we said before, like, we are meant to change and grow. Like, I am in the change business. So many people say people don't change, but we do. And the only species that survives is the one that is able to adapt most to change. So Ursula is a catalyst for helping us with that and helping us see that through astrology. It's written in the stars.
It definitely is.
I'm going to click on this.
Well
It's
said, Mandee.
Sophia. She says, I've gone to Astrology Cafe for a free birth chart reading for myself and husband, and the accuracy is like the emoji. So seen. As a kid, I loved astrology and tarot, and based on my religion, I was told it was evil. So I had hit and eventually stopped. I'm picking it up now, and I'm super excited to learn more. Do you
Awesome,
offer
Sophia.
classes, Ursula, or do you talk to people about their stuff?
Yeah, actually, Mandee and I just started teaching. So our first class was called, well, the series is called Reaping the Rewards of Retrograde. And our first focus was the Mercury retrograde that just happened in the fall. And our next class is going to be on the upcoming Venus retrograde, which actually starts next week. But our class will start on January 9th. We don't want to start before the holidays.
If you are interested, we are running this Venus retrograde class. You can check it out on seagoddesshealingarts.com. It's going to be 3 Sundays in a row. I think 11 in the morning Eastern time till about 12:30 in the afternoon. It'll all be recorded. So if you can't make it at that time, you can tune in later that week. But it's basically just teaching you how to co-create, how to work with your individual charts. You'll get an individual birth reading. Everybody gets little mini readings from their birth chart from Ursula. And oh yeah, Lexi was there. She did the first one. It really was beautiful. And it's an opportunity for so many like sisters to come together. It's so nice because Crystal and Ursula and I, we get to meet so many of you amazing, wonderful, magical souls out there. And so many of us know one another from past lives and different times. And though we're strategically placed all over the world, there's an opportunity for connection and kinship and friendship and sistership. And so it was really nice. Our last class, we realized, really ended up being like, a bit of an astrology cafe soul circle. And it was really, really nice. So now we're going to be focusing on Venus retrograde, and you can sign up for our class. It's $44 for the 3 weeks, and it's right on Sea Goddess Healing Arts. What do we focus on most during Venus retrograde, Urs?
It's all matters of the heart and values and connection. So this one's going to be pretty interesting. And we'll go into depth with it during the class. But this one is kind of flavored with shadow work, I guess you could say. So shadow work in love, which is not the most easy work to do, but it's necessary. And it's going to be, I think, just what happens on the collective level, and then for every person individually. I think it's going to be a really interesting thing to witness. And that's Venus is the rarest of retrogrades, so that only happens roughly every year and a half. That's every 584 days. But Venus only goes retrograde for 40 days. So Mercury happens more frequently. Mercury moves so fast. Mars only happens like every 2 years, or roughly over 2 years, but that's for several months at a time. So this one is interesting and sometimes the most challenging, just because it does force us to comb at our heartstrings and flesh all the stuff out. And with every retrograde, it's kind of like reading a tarot card reverse. So the energy gets very internalized. The planet's really close. So we have a really intimate space to work directly with the energy. So I kind of coined the term reaping the rewards of retrograde, because there's a lot of fear that surrounds retrogrades as well. And Mercury gets a bad rap, and it's actually a really magical time. So I like having this opportunity now to start teaching people how to work with it, rather than a lot of the misconceptions that are kind of out there in the, internets of things with the fear that's put around it and that kind of stuff.
Well, see, I feel like I do feel like it messes with people. But when you understand that it's like a slingshot back.
Yep.
It's like the energy is like, shoo, and that's why all that stuff is coming to the surface. That's why things seem to like be angsty, energetic, whatever is taking place. Because like you said, each one is different and they represent different things. But that's why we struggle with it, because we struggle more sitting with ourselves and really facing ourselves in a very kapow situation where they're kind of making us look in the mirror instead of being able to turn our heads. That's way more uncomfortable than just sliding us into home very comfortably and like, you know, not being tagged or hit or whatever. It's having to see it in a very quick way, in a quick manner. And a lot of people fight that energy because they don't understand what the energy is there for. And so it is a very difficult process. I still fight it sometimes, mostly because anytime any shift takes place, I can't sleep. Like they take away my ability to sleep completely. Last night I was up all freaking night and I'm like, y'all, I had like 2 hours of sleep and I'm like, okay, I understand that. Like, could we please just settle on maybe 4.5? Like, I would be very happy with you guys just giving me 4.5 hours because I still have to work tomorrow, people. And so I would really like for them to stop taking away my ability to sleep. And then like there's other times when I'm around other people, because empath on steroids, then you also have all of that. And I think a lot of people, especially all of our listeners, you guys are all empaths. You know this. What happens is essentially we not only feel our energy and we're all angsty because of our own stuff that we're trying to focus on, but then we're also focusing and feeling out everybody else with our feelers. And so we don't know really how to focus on ourselves. And so it's really cool to talk about retrograde in a way that people may see it in a different way, because I don't think a lot of people utilize that energy. I think a lot of people have just decided that it's something bad and, oh, we hate Mercury retrograde. Like, but why do we? Because it's there for a reason.
Because we don't know how to work it.
Yeah.
Right. It's really kind of neat when you look into it in a different way.
Yeah. In our instant gratification society, we don't want to keep, you know, taking a step back to actually integrate and take a breath and pause and reflect and reprogram and reintegrate and refocus and reprioritize. And Urs can tell you a lot more about it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that can happen with Venus retrogrades is old lovers can come back into our life.
But
but
sorry,
like Mandee was really just listing all the rewords
back there for a second. Nope. I didn't talk to you the last time you slid into my DMs. I ain't talking to you now, so don't try it.
Yeah. So Mandee was just rattling off all the rewords, and it's a reminder to remember why this person isn't in your life anymore. Or it could be an opportunity, since if you have grown, you know, worked on yourself since that relationship, it could be a time to revisit it or reconnect. So it all kind of depends on how the retrograde's working on you and for you, with the outcome of that situation, like what the lesson is.
We talk a lot on like this show and on our network and all kinds of things, you know, a lot of times about the bad because we're healing. And so a lot of times when people break up, it's because of a toxic relationship or something that wasn't healthy. But sometimes it's because we truly love ourselves. It's because one person's got to go here and do school. One person's got to go here and follow their heart and study all this stuff. Or, you know, we've got to take time to learn how to reprogram and heal our inner child wounds to show up differently. And like I said, we are in the change business. So there is opportunities for old lovers to get back together. But like Urs said, only if you've grown and done the work and you show up and you're going to treat each other like completely differently. And so it's a very interesting retrograde to show up.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
So
I'm going to say, I'm going to go up and start looking at some of these comments because we read Sophia's, and then Mermaid in the Mountain says, yes, or to go publicly with it. I always say I'm in the closet. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. That makes me sad for you, because then that's like an energy, like you're capping a can of like pop. And eventually you're going to like get to the place where it's like poof, because once it's shaken, that energy's got to come out somewhere. So it's either going to like make you sick, or it's going to end up coming out all at once. And then everybody's going to be like, whoa, what's going on now? How has she changed so much? I hope you have people that you allow yourself to be out of the closet with. I feel like you do, because they're doing this, which means closeness and love. And they're making me feel like, yes, she does. But at the same time, it's so hard. Abby says, it is scary. It is scary. There's a lot of scary in this. I feel like the scariest part for me, and you ladies can talk about it too, the scariest part of me was the change, because I felt essentially like I'm not the same person at all. I have changed so much, and I feel like I'm still trying to, like, I need to have that ego death, that last ego death, because I'm really struggling. Like, I still want to be the snarky asshole sometimes. Like, I really enjoy that part of me. It makes me happy. But at the same time, I feel like there are pieces of that like, it's also, Crystal, okay to be soft. It's okay for you to be empathic. It's okay for you to be vulnerable. And so essentially, based on my trauma that I've experienced, I'm still fearful of being completely vulnerable. And so that ego death, I'm not allowing myself to dive in fully to what my soul's potential is. And that's the scary part for me, was my ego death. Do you guys have anything to share with that, with what was your scary place, I guess, in this? It's the healing itself. I mean,
I want to ask Ursula, kind of on your behalf, isn't there, so like, yeah, you know, like we know when we're being extra assholey and all of that, and we need to do our shadow work, and like, but isn't there a part of it too that's written in the stars and in our charts that might explain a bit of our flair or our
I'm just going to say, like, I want Ursula to answer that, and I'm sorry for interrupting you. I'm already going to contact her. I'm just going to tell you, like, I feel like this woman could help me so much, because my biggest issue in life is understanding why, my own balance, because it's such a weird balance between the yin and yang systems. Like, I have this very dark, deep version where I believe fully in a lot of past lives I was probably a dark magic person, because my mind goes right to, I know how to fucking do this, and you better back off, because I am going to pull some shits out of the game. And then that angel on my shoulder is like, whoa, not this bad. Not this
Mayday.
one. Knock it off. We're not doing that today, Crystal. You are no longer like Esmeralda.
No voodoo.
Yes.
So sorry, I got a call. I hope you can hear me.
It broke up a little bit, but it was like perfectly theatrical for everything.
Oh, are you guys still
Yeah,
there?
it was.
I feel like you're still there. I just can't see you guys.
We're here.
We can hear you.
We're going to tune back in, I'm sure. We hear you and see you.
Yeah, and see you.
Do you hear us?
Ah.
All right. Well, Crystal's figuring it out. We are going to go to a few more comments. So Sophia gave us her birth chart, Urs. She's 8/15/88. She said, I am a Leo sun, Virgo moon, and Sag rising, I think.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah. What kind of
I'd have to cast the chart and do all that. Yeah.
Yep. Now, there's also Heather is in the house, and she's 8/15/80, and she's like, Leos are in the house. What are some things you can tell us a bit about Leo? Crystal, what's your birthday?
Mine or Crystal's?
Crystal, are you there?
She's still figuring something out.
She's still working on it. You go ahead and talk about Leos. I'm going to text Crystal and let her know.
I can't hear you guys at all. I'm going to let you guys take over this, because I got a call and I cannot hear you or see you at all. Everything is just kind of turned off for me, and I can't get it back, but I'm going to let you guys keep going on, and hopefully I kick back on. If I don't, that's okay too. I just don't want to end this.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah. So Leo is all about heart-centered creativity and just really leading with the heart. So Leo actually gets a really bad rap for a lot of reasons, and I kind of disagree with a lot of the things that Leo kind of gets, I guess, negativity for, to an extent, because I mean, the dark side or the shadow side, there's always a shadow side.
Thank you, Mandee.
I was like, well, we're going with it. Thanks, angels.
There's always a shadow side. No.
We're giving a little lesson about the Leo.
Yeah. The more shadowy side is being egocentric and self-centered and all that stuff. And a lot of the, negative connotations around the sign are centered on only that. But Leo's a beautiful sign. Leo's the only sign that's ruled by the sun. So you'll have all that beautiful solar energy. And it is just about expressing yourself, but, not to the extent where you're shadowing other people and that kind of thing. So there's just very intricate balance there with the sign, but it's fixed fire. It's all about keeping that creativity and that energy alive within yourself and contributing that to the world in some way, in some useful way. So the dynamic is society, but then your individual contribution, and making sure that that's always something that's coming, from your own soul and from your own heart. That's the way that I work with it.
I feel like, now, do you like spin everybody in a beautiful way? Because I feel like that would be a big part of you and what you do, because each each sign has bad qualities. Like all of us do. We all have like, it's just like everything else in life. It's a balance. We all have dark and light energies. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm a Gemini. Should we talk about what people say about Geminis? All of it's true, by the way. I'm going to tell you, all of it's true. I feel like I am very Gemini. I understand my Gemini side very, very well. And so I tell people, yeah, it's all true. I understand that. But you also have to understand there's like different, there's a different, it's the angel on the shoulder type of situation. You have the good twin, you have the bad twin, and you better not mess with the bad one, because once again, she likes to pull things out of Esmeralda's, pocketbook. But at the same time, I'm also a beautiful, loving, caring person. And if you're in my, if you're in my circle, like I will take care of you so much. And I think people just have a hard time with the Gemini energy, because I feel like the Gemini has like this energy of like go, go, go sometimes. And yeah, we can have narcissistic traits just like everybody else. But I feel like it's one of those things that's almost misunderstood. Whereas I feel like it's kind of the same thing in a lot of the bad traits of all of the people and all of the signs. Those are misunderstood traits that are not easily able to be communicated with, because those are essentially our shadow self. Those are our shadow works that we need to do and kind of get to know. And so if the person themselves hasn't done that shadow work yet, of course they're going to have more of those negative traits than those positive traits. And so it's not that it's a bad sign. It's just you haven't kind of worked that process, or maybe you did. And maybe that's why you don't see a correlation between you and what that means. Because there was a long time where I actually was like, okay, I'm way more Taurus than I am Gemini. And no, I'm back to Gemini. I'm 100%.
And that's
can't run from her
when I want to. Gemini has a lot to offer, and that energy is very much about new information and new ideas and kind of grounding that into this physical reality. So it's really important. And we all have aspects of these signs in all of us. The chart is a wheel. You have all 12 signs there. So whether or not you have something in the sign, okay, but it's still part of you. We have people with the planets and the luminaries and the stars and all of us. So there could be an energetic focus on one side or one thing, but that is mostly, as you said, Crystal, learning about the duality and what the opposing sign is. So,
which maybe is my problem, because I haven't learned my opposing ones, because this is like where I was going back. I think it was Sophia. I can't remember if it was Sophia or somebody else, but somebody talked about like they had like, they were this, and then their house sign was this, like what I was talking about to you before we even came live. And I was like, what does that even mean? And so I guess it kind of makes sense, especially for like different points in times of your life. And like, I don't know if it's just like the energy of the moon and stuff like that. And so maybe it comes around that way. Like I said, I have zero clue what I'm talking about when it comes to this, but it makes sense to understand and utilize each one of those traits so you can get to know yourself better, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you said, everything has a light and a dark. Everything has a positive and a negative. And astrology works like all the signs have an equal and opposing polar opposite. So the duality and the dynamic between all of that is part of how it works. So I always, whenever I see an energetic focus on one side of the chart, I always go to the other side and see what exploration has been done on the opposite.
I love that, because I'm all about like that pendulum swing, and it, like literally you can do that like with the chart.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So you've had a lot of action on your Gemini sun there, Crystal.
Great.
Lately.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
I told you. Thing.
I was like, what did I do now? What did I know? You don't understand how many times Spirit's in my ear going, now stop. Just don't anymore, please. Like, we're having to fight really hard right now. No, I'm just joking. They love me, but they are pretty hard on me at the same time. But that's how I learn. I learn by people being like, okay, Crystal, I have to have the real.
Yeah.
I just think it's really
the Sagittarius aspect. That's the opposite.
Are you kidding me? See, I can learn a lot of stuff from Ursula. I told you guys, I'm just contacting her. I'm literally just saying I'm going to be contacting you because I've been looking for a reading that I can do. Mandee, we talked. Okay, there was somebody who commented on one of our YouTubes, and she was like, you need to find this person. I looked this person up and I nearly crapped my pants. I don't want to pick on people, Mandee. I'm sorry. I was not mean. I did not say it in bad ways. But I cannot imagine charging somebody $700. I cannot imagine that, because like, how are people going to come up with $700? I know they can, obviously, because some of these people are business, but the people I see and the people I want to talk to, that's literally what part of my goal in life is to make it affordable for everybody and get sponsored. So I can do this for people who don't have $100 that I feel like is sometimes like a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And so I'm like, holy crap. But at the same time, we have like all these things coming through, and there's so many people who could utilize all of these beautiful aspects of what these spiritual gifts are. And so many people focus on the psychic, on the mediumship. They don't want to look into like the guide reads that Mandee does and this beautiful understanding from our beautiful angels and our higher perspective and our higher beings. And even maybe sometimes call in some of those, you know, extraterrestrial friends, because everybody's like, oh my gosh, that just gives me anxiety. I don't want to be probed. And then we deal with these people in the stars, and now all of a sudden you're like, now all of a sudden you're calling in like demons because this symbol looks like this and this was on this, and it's like, ay. We need to bring it all together in a way where people understand that it is a beautiful experience to utilize all of those things, because each one of those things are a piece to the bigger picture that is the puzzle to our entire journey. And so, yes, I have looked into different things, and I'm like, I know I need to do it. But also, me knowing things about me aggravates me in so many ways. Not in a bad way, but it like causes anxiety, because I'm my own worst judge and jury, just like you two ladies are. And
we
so
all are.
I tend to really beat myself up because I feel like my spirit's 10 steps ahead of where my human is right now. And so it's like I'm trying to play catch up, and I'm just essentially like, I can't run anymore. I'm exhausted, and I'm still a fat girl, and I can't breathe. So let me be right now, and you do you, and we'll just sit on opposite sides of the spectrum. And that's why it's like I need that guidance, because I know what I want. I know what I'm receiving. And even in my moments of doubt, it's like, I know that it's there. I literally said with my words, it's mapped out in the stars. I know it's there. And it's just a matter of it coming when it needs to come in the divine timing. But to get to that divine timing, Crystal still needs to do some work. And it's that map that I'm afraid of, because I know what the work is that I need to do. I'm just lazy because I don't want to take off running again. So that's what scares me about Ursula, because she's going to tell me the truth, just like I tell people the truth. And then I'm going to be like, oh, I know it sucks. I
call Ursa the hammer sometimes, because she'll just come in and just drop truth like a hammer, and it's awesome. But the thing is, there's such reward once you go there.
There is.
On the other side of that fear. And this is for everyone listening. Like, the journey of awakening and ascending never ever stops.
No, it
doesn't. Really important to know. You're like, my favorite prayer that I say every morning when I set my shield and do my gratitudes, I say, that which I need to know will be revealed. And then I go from there, because there's so much that we could absorb and observe and learn and reprogram. And then there is also so much that we deserve to just stay present for. And a lot of times we're not able to do that because we're so busy comparing ourselves or thinking where we should be or how we need to get there or what's going on. So whenever you're in doubt or you're spinning out, just take a few breaths and do something to like get yourself present again. You know, go for a walk, do a dance, do what you need to do in order to reground.
See, I love Steve Harvey. I just listened to something this morning about gratitude, and I feel like people, the more Mandee talks about it every single time we meet about the gratitude, we really have to reprogram our mind, because there's a lot of people that have a lot of things going on right now, because it is a moment of growth on earth. Like, we're here to be growing through this, and it's not always easy. And the last couple of years have been pretty trying for some people. And so some of us are coming out of it. Some of us are just going into it. And some of us are kind of in the midst of it, and all of us are trying to do our best in this, but kind of bouncing off the walls. But we forget the gratitude of even some of the most simple things. You know, having two hands, being able to open something, to me is like, oh, I just am so thankful some days, because I have two hands that work to be able to open up this can for myself, or to be able to walk, what a gift, because there are so many people who have that ability taken from them in accidents, or they're born without that ability. And it's just like, you know, there are so many things when we even get into the human body, the fact that we can breathe, the fact that our lungs work, the fact that we have like blood pumping through our system, keeping us alive and not having to be on a machine. And then we can go outwards from there. Like there's so many little itty bitty things to be grateful for that at this point in time, it's almost like, you know, I understand that this aspect sucks and these things have been very tragic for you, but we can't take away the fact that we have things that we have to surround us every single day to invite in. And that's kind of one of the hardest things I think right now for most of my clients specifically, is the remembering the gratitude when it feels like things are caving down around them. So that's been one of the most difficult things that I've seen probably over the past 6 months for people. I've seen a lot of ascension symptoms, like so many ascension symptoms. That specific one where like, I don't want to die, but I also am okay if I did. Like people don't understand suicide necessarily. Like if you're like, okay, I could just leave today and I'd be fine with it. It doesn't mean you're suicidal. It doesn't mean that you're like wanting to die. It literally just means that your soul's cool and it's at peace. And that's part of that symptom and stepping forward to be your full self. And I think it's really cool that we're going through so much of these things and there's ways to utilize them differently. So yes, astrology takes place in all of those little pieces, that intricate puzzle to what that mapping system looks like, because it also helps teach you in those moments why it's taking place, when it's happened, why it's happened. Maybe did you contract for it? Was your life supposed to kind of be a catalyst for change for this person? Was it something that you were supposed to learn from yourself or from a past mistake or a past thing? Or is it your karma? Why is it taking place? And the trauma that you're carrying from it can essentially kind of be cured just by knowing the reason why. And that's when it's going to help lift it off from your shoulders. And that's when you're going to be able to step fully into your own light and stop being that judge and jury for yourself. That's when that helps. And so, as I stated to her before we got on live, I'm terrified, but also know that I need it to happen, because I know that it's going to be the answer essentially to what I already know I probably need to do, just need it to be validated differently. And so that's why people exist. It's to give us that validation in different forms or answers we didn't already know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my hope for every time I work with somebody is just to hope that they feel validated in what's happening when we meet, when we work together, and just know that they're not alone, that, you know, we're all going through something. Everything's a cycle. You know, everyone has certain things happen at certain ages that mean certain things, just because planets are on cycles. And each one comes with its own set of lessons. Each experience has its own meaning. And collectively, everyone's going through what, you know, the ascension of the planet at the same time, but then we also have our individual parts. And I felt really called to pull a card while you were talking, Crystal. And it's funny because the card that I pulled is the card that relates to the body, which is the first house of the chart. And it's number 25. So we have a 7 there, which is all pretty awesome. And each of these cards comes with a little saying, like a quote from a famous person. And this one says, "I am not the perishable body, but the eternal self." Mm-hmm. So I think that it's really important just to remember, just to always come home to yourself and the self-awareness that all of this can teach us. And we really, truly only have ourselves. And this body is a miraculous vehicle to carry out this specific mission that we all have. And it's just important to keep it as well fed spiritually and physically, and take care of it and be grateful for it every single day. So important. And it's also the part of the chart that relates to our physical embodiment in this lifetime.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah, our vessels are the vehicles to our dreams. We're not taught that, but like we're literally these little soul orbs that float around up in the non-physical and in heaven. And then when we come down here to grow, to experience, we need our vehicle. You know, we need to take care of that. We need to learn from it. We need to allow it to teach us and serve us. actually a faithful servant of our mind. Our body is not in charge. Our body listens to all the things that our thoughts say and that all of our programs say, and then responds. And once you wake up to that, it's miraculous what you can do to heal yourself.
I see we have a question. Astrology and Akashic
Records.
Records.
So many wonderful wonderful guests and questions and comments.
I feel like they overlap.
I do too,
right?
kind of.
Yeah,
like
they do. They overlap.
I don't know anything about this, but I feel like based on the Akashic records that I got and what I know about, which once again, I'm going to say very minimal. But I do feel like they overlap a little bit. But I feel like, I don't know. I could be wrong. Once again,
I know
please tell me if I'm wrong. But they're almost making me feel like, I feel like one was more of a mapping system of the past and like different pieces to your puzzle. But the other one is more of a broad spectrum of the whole picture. Does that make a little bit of sense based on what you do? Or maybe I just got a weird Akashic reading. I don't know.
I've had an Akashic reading. I feel like they're different tools that get you kind of to the same place in a way, with different context and different ways of working with the energy of your soul. So are they the same or different? I mean, they're two different disciplines, but I feel like they're both getting at the same general thing to an extent.
For me, Akashic records really show a lot of your soul contracts, your past life. It's like a book of all the things that you've experienced as a soul in other lifetimes. So you'll see a lot of your like past lives there and future lives, or things you're working on, or soul contracts with people, or family connections, things like that. So it's more of like a deep dive, because I believe very much that this lifetime, Ursula, Crystal, myself, like we're all in this lifetime, we're our ego. We are Mandee and Crystal and Ursula, and we are a compilation of all of the things that we've learned and we've experienced and we've been programmed to in this lifetime. And then our ego pairs with our soul, which our soul is connected to our higher self and all of those amazing Akashic records. And it's the imprints and the storage that we've had throughout our entire soul's journey. And it can come in and influence us and help us to dig deeper and to realize things and to come home into ourselves as much as we can. And then what happens with astrology is it not only shows you some things that you might be coming in with from a past life or contract or things like that, but it reveals to you your potentials in this lifetime and those transitionary moments where your soul can grow, and you can put a little chapter note in those Akashic records is kind of the way it looks and entangles for me.
Aww. See, it's like you did such a good job explaining that, because it was like, okay, so when I had my Akashic done, it was more past experiences, soul contracts, whether or not I carried any type of karma that needed to, like, you know, whatever that needed to be broken, whatever, into this life. And it's not necessarily everybody kind of has some karmic paths. It was just like, have those major shifts already been taken? Have you already cut those things? And mine, if I remember, they were at that point had been kind of like done. I had already broken those huge karmic things. The one thing that I took the most away from it, which is so stupid, but the one thing that I took the most away is that my soul family, or my soul whatever, I was like Pleiadian. And I was like, I knew I was extraterrestrial. I am not of this world at all. So weird.
At least in that lifetime.
And Julie says, what is a soul contract?
Do you want to take that one, Urs?
Yeah, I feel like it's we talked about the imprint that we come in with. So each, lifetime is a chance to, as Crystal was talking about already, heal our karma and heal our soul and grow our soul on different levels. And we come into these lifetimes with quote unquote contracts with ourselves, with other people. And they're just ways to play out those lessons. And either we learn them or we don't, as we've been talking about. We do the shadow work or we don't. It's always a choice. There's always free will. And then once we, leave, we have a chance to, every time we have a chance to review that and see how we did and see how we did, what we did, what could have done differently, and how we handled these things that were opportunities for growth every time that we have an incarnation. That's the way I see it. And you can update contracts too.
You can totally update them. And they can be with certain energies, like money, for instance, stuff like that.
Resources. So that's one of mine.
When we talk about like if spirit, not when I say we, I mean the spirit, when they're doing readings for people, that's like when people talk about the gifts that they have, because I'm a weirdo who thinks that everybody's gifted, I'm not gifted. We all have gifts.
We do.
It's just how you choose to open up to them. So
1000% agree.
Yeah.
it's like,
You're
I
not
don't feel like
special,
there's
and
anything
you are
special.
special.
I am special, but
You're all
the gifts
special.
that I have are not necessarily, we can all hone in on those, but they talk about some people are just contracted. Some people make the contract to actually help heal people and make this the path and do this work. And so that's essentially a soul contract. A soul contract can also be like, you know, breaking karmic cycles for families. It can be breaking, you know, essentially being that black sheep that steps out of family lines and stops cycles of toxicity between those things. There's different soul contracts. I had somebody today that had come to me and we were talking about an experience that they had a child for, like, essentially a sexual molestation. And it had come through that, you know, the contract on her end was to give a different path to that person. Like, it feels so crappy. I feel like this is the thing. Like, if you haven't fought with your guides and angels, I mean, you're better than me. It's sometimes difficult because it feels like you're being like hoodwinked, you know, because your ego, my crystal sense in me, that brain in me doesn't remember that contract, that we don't remember those things. And so it feels almost like we were placed into a situation where harm can get done. And sometimes that's the trauma that causes us not to open the door. And that keeps us from making those moves. But if we understand, and we talked about how it almost feels like she was a sacrificial lamb, and I can see how that would feel that way. I really can see how that would be the interpretation, especially for that situation. But at the same time, on some level, your soul said, hey, yo, we're going to give them this out. We're going to give them this opportunity to be different, to be a different human, to make a different choice. And that wasn't a failure on your end. Like, you did absolutely nothing wrong. You did your job in that moment to do that, and they didn't do theirs. And we can understand how that would feel this way. We can understand how you would be this way. But at the same time, look at yourself as the superhero that you are, because you took that on, knowing that this might be the path, and you knew this may be the thing that happened in that scenario. And essentially, you were the guide. You were the angel. You were the higher being in that moment. Even if you were 2 or 3 or whenever that happened, you were that person in that moment to give that opportunity differently. And that was your contract to do so. You don't remember, no. Is it shitty? Absolutely. And to your human self, it can affect you for the rest of your life. That is essentially one of those things that are so hard for us to endure and then start to release. But at the same time, you're kind of a badass. And you took this on, and look at, you're still standing, you're still breathing, you still have made it through 25 plus years. You are still doing it. You've had children. You've broken those systems. You've broken those cycles. You've learned how to open doors. You've learned how to communicate differently because of the lack of communication that took place. You're a fucking badass. I can't say it any other way. That's who you are. And so to look at that one thing and see yourself as something that's lacking, I can't understand, because you are so much bigger than what you understand in that moment. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand those soul contracts, and that's kind of what gets us stuck, because those soul contracts can be messy, man. Mine was messy. I know your guys's were messy. And that's such a hard thing for our trauma brain, our ego self, to walk through. And we're conditioned not to think about anything. Like, don't be a dreamer. Don't step outside and no, you got to think this through, and this is what you need to do, and blah, blah, blah. We're taught to get rid of those pieces of ourselves that made the contract to begin with. And that's what makes it hard for us as we get older in our life, because we don't know what to do. We don't know how to react. We don't know how to connect, and we're further away from ourselves. And so all of this is essentially just a way to get you back to what that contract looked like. And there are people like Ursula, or people who do Akashic records or do different things. Mandee does these beautiful, amazing soul works on people, and has transformed the lives of so many people on their journey, because they were stuck in trauma. And so there are things that can help you break free from that cycle and kind of get you into an understanding. And it all really starts with you opening the door to yourself too, and giving yourself a little bit of love to make the appointment with somebody, to step through that door of fear and to go through the process, even though you know you probably are going to hear something you don't want to hear, or maybe they're just going to validate things you already know. But at the end of the day, you're worth it. You're worth the healing. You're worth the love. You're worth understanding your contract and why these really shitty things happen to you. I don't know how to say it any differently. The guides are like, oh, if they could just get people to know that, yeah, life does suck sometimes and it really does hurt sometimes, and those things are carried with us, but at no point does it mean that you're of lesser of human because you felt lesser in that moment. It's the getting back to that thing that created you and made you come to begin with on a soul level. And that's where they're trying to kind of get us with this ascension. That's literally what they're trying to get us to do, is see it in a different way. And the transformation is difficult, but at least you have cool people leading you.
Amen.
Sorry. That was a long-winded thing.
No.
I'm going to tell you, sometimes they talk and I'm like, oh God, I'm talking too much. I'm so sorry.
No.
I apologize.
No, that was
but
beautiful.
they're really making me feel like it really needs to be said, because contracts are hard. Yeah. Contracts are hard. And each one of us, like my contract, I thought was hard too, but my contract was not as hard as a lot of people's that I've channeled. I am grateful because holy hell, you people have had some pretty tough contracts that I've been able to see. And I'm sorry you guys have had to go through those things.
And it's hard because a lot of it doesn't make sense. And we're not taught, we're taught that everything's like such a punishment. And we're taught that, and it's true, like we should not be, abusive towards one another in this world. Like there's a lot of things we have co-created in this matrix that are not okay, that do not feel good, that are violating, that are not cool. But at the same time, we're able to shift and see our perspectives and lessons we've learned and create forgiveness, which helps us all bridge. We open up a bigger space in our heart chakra. We start to move into unattachment, which is a lot of what you were talking about, where it's like, all right, I made peace. If I'm going to go, like, it's cool because I know that this is one lifetime in my book of lifetimes. And like, I'm doing the best that I can. And if there's one thing I can say for spiritual work and like this mindfulness work, it's showing up just like you would for anything else. And you've got to like practice those mindfulness muscles. And it's literally reprogramming and saying, actually, I am worthy and it's okay and it's safe. And I am safe now, even though something really horrible happened to me before. And I'm going to choose to move forward and learn how to forgive this. It's like, it's been pretty shitty that it happened and it's been pretty shitty suffering for a long time. So why don't I swing the pendulum the other way and try to see or lift the veil a little or peek around the curtain and see maybe there was some purpose to this. And maybe it's going to reveal, maybe there's purpose to my pain and it's going to reveal a lot of who I am and my own purpose. So if you're just hanging out there with us tonight, just know there is such beauty and purpose and reason, even to the darkest days. And it does make sense on a different level, in a different kind of perspective and dimension when we take the time to learn that or to look at that. And I also just want to say hi to all of our amazing people who keep commenting, because I'm seeing all the love. Hi, Anita. Hi, Julie. I love the alien emoji. Yeah, so many people are here.
So I have another question, because it's like 8:07. So okay. I've got one more. Ursula, because we've talked about what you do, but we really haven't touched on the aromatherapy part of what you do. Okay. How do those things tie in together? And like, what does the aromatherapy part help people with? Like, what is that about?
So it's really curious and it's a little esoteric, but ancient at the same time. There's one book that I base my work off of called Astrological Aromatherapy by this wonderful massage therapist, aromatherapist, Patricia Davis. And every zodiac sign has what she calls a signature oil.
Oh.
Yeah. So the way that I work with it is I look at a person's chart, and then we'll kind of go through the birth chart reading, and then we'll see what areas they're still working through some of their lessons, where they might need a little bit more support. And I usually make a blend for that person using the signature oils of the signs where all that is kind of happening. So there's different ways to, different methods of delivery for aromatherapy. So we always have, you can do inhalation, you can do, absorption through the skin. So the signature oil for Leo is actually jasmine.
She's like, I feel like it's a musky smell. I love you, Sophia.
Is it the
What is
lion? Stinky lion.
Sophia, I'm like, mine better not be patchouli. I swear, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna cause a ruckus.
Patchouli is Scorpio.
Thank you, Jesus, because no, that stuff makes me so sick.
Yeah, that's usually a love-hate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll usually focus on people's elemental balance as well. So if they're an air sign, we'll make a spray or do an inhaler or something like that. And I'm kind of still in my own research with this because I can't exactly talk to Patricia Davis. So every time I work with somebody, I'm so asking for feedback, like, how is this helping you? Did you notice a difference? Because it's all vibration and it's really energy medicine to an extent because the plants have their own vibrations and that's sort of how they help us. Like the essential oil is the essence of the plant. So I'm still working with it. I work with it myself and it's a big area of study for me and interest and research at this point. But I do find that when I use the oil specifically for a purpose, like I was making lunar blends for a really long time that would capture the energy of the full moon and the new moon. So a lot of times I'd have them diffusing when we had our moon circles and stuff like that, and people just loved it, and it just went with the energy so well. So that was a big experimentation that worked out really well. And it's just putting the two together in a way that just like makes the healing process deeper. Is the way that I look at it.
Like,
can
people come to you and kind of like ask you to make certain stuff for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have an astrological aromatherapy service.
There you go, guys. Contact Ursula.
You can use aromatherapy as alternative healing
that's how I got into it.
Yeah, and Ursula, it's great living with Ursula because if you're sick or not feeling well or something's happening, she's always making steams or different, like giving you an idea of different things you can sniff, or even if you have like an injury of what's going on, you can put things topically on. And so if you have any questions about aromatherapy and how it might serve you, Ursula's your girl.
Thank you.
And it is a science. She's like a spiritual scientist.
Yeah, it is a science. I mean, I've kind of been brought back to these two extremely ancient sciences. Like people used to wear rosemary during the Black Plague because it helped because it had its antiviral properties. Like these things go back so far, like eons, centuries, millennia. So it's really curious to be in this modern life that we're in now and being, fostering the relationship of these two ancient sciences and practices and putting them together. It's been an interesting journey.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at comments. I didn't mean for there to be a crazy weird pause. I was like, oh crap. So sorry about that.
I think we've been throwing it out there. It's okay. How about everybody takes a nice deep breath?
Today has been a great day. It's been a crazy, chaotic day only because of my 2 hours of sleep. But at the same time, it's been a very good day, I think. I feel like there are things changing and shifting for a lot of people, and I'm grateful for that change and shift that's about to take place. I feel like there's some big, big changes. Also, Mandee, I got to ask you, have you ever done anything with stinging nettles?
Oh, I drink the shit out of nettle tea. It has been one of my favorite. I've said this many times. It has been one of my favorite catalysts for healing my fibromyalgia, calming down all my nerve shit. And yeah, it's the best. And this is like echinacea tea, but I'm like, I just down it. I can't even handle it. And like all the time I'm going out. This is like lemon balm that's dry right now, it's verbena. And I'm just always like chopping herbs in my garden and throwing them in a cup and drinking them, and it's amazing. But stinging nettles are easy to grow, but if you grow them, you want to make sure you wear gloves with them and like watch a little YouTube on how to harvest it because it does sting. But it's incredibly healing, and nettle tea is like one of my healing homes. So sorry,
I had a dream.
Clearly.
The reason I'm asking you is because I had a dream. And in this dream, I was cutting up, and I'm going to tell you, this wasn't this lifetime, but it was you. Your name was Mandee. You looked the exact same. It was Mandee. But I was making a nettle, not tea. It was a stinging nettle, like tincture or something that was in a bottle. And I was like taking it. And then they were like, you need to gift Mandee some because Mandee understands the properties. And I was like, oh, and they were like, this is going to work for this. This is going to work for this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to ask her, because I felt like they were kind of giving it to me in a way that would be a good gift for her. Like, hey, if you give her some of your stinging nettle tincture, she's really going to appreciate it because she already knows what it's for. And that's why I was like, now I got to ask her, because I had this whole dream where you and I were like taking our freaking nettle stinging whatever the heck it is, and I was like, okay, so Crystal apparently needs to grow some nettles, so I have ordered some organic stinging nettle seeds, and so I'm like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do this year. If I'm still in Michigan by time spring comes, I'm gonna start harvesting some of those nettles so that I can make some tincture. And it was so funny. I was like, I got to remember to ask her this, because you legitimately were in my dream, and I was like talking to you, and we're like, yeah, this is really cool. And it's like, the most beautiful way, because it does a lot of gut health and it does a lot of this. And I got to tell you, I had absolutely no clue what the hell stinging nettle was. No clue. I know what it is.
That's cool.
I didn't know what any of the properties were, but it was like my weird old self came into the mix and was like, yeah, this is what this is for. And she'll jam with you on it.
That is so cool. I'm like floating around the astral plane all the time. If you're a friend of mine or in my life, I do the weirdest things. Like one time my friend had to go to court, and she had a dream of me going to court with her and sitting next to her on the court bench and all this stuff. And and then the next day she like woke up and she was like, yeah, she's like, I'm going in, but I had this amazing dream last night and you were there. And I'm always floating around. So if you ever have a dream of me, let me know, because that's super fun.
It is. I do it too.
Kill her nettles. They do.
Right.
No, I just
kill those.
That.
It's like, I'll buy them.
Yes. You got
I don't have stinging nettles, Julie. What are you doing with your life? No, Google it. And look up the video on the healing properties of stinging nettles. Because after this dream, I jumped right on, and I was like, okay. And there are some amazing videos that talk about the properties of stinging nettles and why we need to take those, especially if you have like autoimmune diseases, inflammation, any type of gut issues, problems, health, whatever. It also regenerates like red blood cells. Like seriously, this crap is amazing. In all different ways.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's associated with the planet Mars, and that directly relates to the blood.
Oh, cool.
There you go.
I just gotta say, I get a little passionate and a little pissed, but like, weeds are not weeds. Like, we have these amazing healing herbs that grow intuitively near us, because we live in this magical world and realm where like angels and spirit and our higher selves are like, oh, Crystal needs some dandelion tea. Here's some extra dandelions near you. And Julie might need some nettles. So here's some extra nettles near you. And Mandee needs this. And if you get poison ivy, I forget the name of it, but there's a counter. I'll look it up for next show. But every time you get, or if you get poison ivy, there's always an herb that grows within 50 feet of it that counteracts it, that you take the leaf and you put it right on it.
Oh, how cool.
It always grows there. But us asshole humans don't know that. I mean, some of us.
I was going to say, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? So it's amazing. Yes, mullein, Sophia. Oh my God. That is
so good for your lungs.
That, yeah, people can do right now with all of our lung things going on and releasing all of our grief and all the stuff. But
and it makes great toilet paper in the wild.
Now, see, I'm going to have to write that down, because sinus issues, but also stinging nettles is for your sinuses and also like inflammation, allergies. It's a natural approach to allergies. And I have so many allergies in Michigan for some reason. I don't understand. It was the weirdest thing. When I was in Florida, I had like such a clear head and everything was great. And I came back. I think it's just mold. I think my old house has mold somewhere. I just haven't been able to figure it out. And so I have such an issue with like head cold type allergies. And I was reading, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So there are so many properties of this beautiful stinging nettle that they're telling me that I need to ingest. So I am definitely going to be looking into it and getting some and making some tincture and all that fun stuff. So yes, thank you for hopping in my dream, Mandee. I appreciated you very, very much for that. I'm going to be reaching out to you.
Harvested some serious herbs and made some serious medicines and tinctures in past life.
Yeah, and I can attest to that gifts from Mandee's garden for sure.
So, my beautiful, lovely ladies, Ursula, I'm going to go with you first because you are our guest here. How do people find you? Where can people book things with you? What is it that they can do to get closer to you and what you have to teach them?
I have a page on Sea Goddess Healing Arts. So seagoddesshealingarts.com, and just look for Ursa Alchemy there. And that'll pull you right to my website. And I have my blog on there. I have a whole log of podcast interviews that I've done. I've been writing for a while, so there's a lot of really good information on my blog. And my services page has all of my astrology readings that I offer, as well as astrological aromatherapy. So that's Ursa Alchemy. And you can find me on Sea Goddess or directly on my website, ursaalchemy.com.
And Mandee, my dear, how can people find you? Where are you at?
Same thing, seagoddesshealingarts.com. And I would be honored to hold soul space with you. I'm an intuitive ascension guide, so I connect with your higher self and your angel team to make sense of what's going on now and why. And it's your sacred soul space. We can ask any questions you want to the angels. We usually pull some cards, some tarot cards, and some oracle cards, and we get clarity on what's going on. And I also kind of help people tap into their magic and learn how to become more conscious. And it'd be such an honor to hold soul space with you. And Ursula and I have a couple offerings too. We've got a class coming up that starts on January 9th, 3 Sundays in a row for a couple hours each Sunday. If you can't make it live, the classes will be recorded, but it's called Reaping the Rewards of Retrograde. And it's a series that Ursula and I have been running. And this 3-week course is going to focus on Venus retrograde. So 3 classes for $44. And then you get the recordings of everything and a mini chart reading in it. You get to hold wonderful space. And also, Ursula, what are we offering for the holiday season? We have a couple other little holiday bonuses and treats too.
Oh, yeah. We have a, on our main page on Sea Goddess, you'll see the Small Business Saturday flyer, and you just click on that, and it'll bring you to a page that we have set up with all of our offerings and all of our coupon codes. So right now I have a code on there where you can book my 2-session astrology chart reading for the energy exchange of 1. So you can find that code there and use that on my website. The link on there will bring you directly to that service on my service page. And Mandee, you have a beautiful offering on there as well.
I do. If you're tuning into this and you just want to book any service with me, you can tap in a Mandee Live for 20% off. And then for holiday season, for 1-hour angel readings, I'm doing a buy one, give one. So you can buy one and give it to someone else, or you can give it to yourself. And so it's a bit of super out there.
Yeah.
And then, so Crystal, how do people get a hold of you? Crystal is an absolutely incredible medium, and I recommend people to her all the time because she's great at what she does.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I had a lady who found me. She was like, it took me like 5 years to find you because I was under a different name before I went to Mitten Medium. And she was like, she came and she was like, I feel like it was you. I look very different. It's been a long time and I look very different today. And I started channeling and she was like, it was you. I know it was you. And then afterwards I was like, Crystal Kirchen. And she goes, yes, I knew it was Crystal Kirchen. I was like, yeah. So that was my old name. That's not where you can find me now, but I'm grateful that I have clients that try to find me. I'm mid-mitten medium. The reason I was saying that is I am mid-mitten medium pretty much everywhere. So you can find me at midmittenmedium.com, and you can also find me on Facebook. I'm Spirit Speaks with Mid-Mitten Medium there, and also on YouTube. So that's pretty much what we have going on. I feel like I'm pretty like, meh, I'm standard. I'm Crystal working alone here in Michigan. And I'm just joking.
You are amazing.
It's like, I am so excited because I am going to meet them in real person because I feel like we need pictures. So we can actually like have a picture of us on the thing so everybody can see all of our faces. I was like,
we are manifesting it. It's happening.
So me too. I'm actually telling Ben all the time, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Just know this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to visit people and I'm going to see it. And I would love to be able to like host at some point in time, some sort of like retreat or something like that, where we can all kind of come together and offer a lot of different things. I just feel like that would be the coolest. So
that would be lovely.
On it too on my end.
It's happening now that we're moving out of this chapter into a new one, and we will be in touch with you on that. And we invite you and all of our tuner inners, listeners, viewers. We're having all kinds of events coming up, but each year we host an annual Light and Sound Healing Arts Festival held at the Absecon Lighthouse in honor of Beltane, which is the first weekend of May. I think this year we're going to be having our celebration on Saturday, April 30th. And then there'll be a rain date for a week after that. And it's an all-day amazing event where we feature all kinds of healers and artisans and musicians and yoga and workshops. And it's just incredible. So if you guys can come out in May, that'd be amazing. And if not, we have plenty of other amazing opportunities coming and online options too. Lots of online classes. We always have all kinds of free YouTube shows and things like that. So where there's a will, there's a way, and we'd love to connect with you. And we'll keep in touch about all of the amazing events that are coming forward. And then, yeah, Crystal, we will be doing a retreat at some point.
I was like, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I
13/21 happening.
Therefore it is. I thank you guys so very much. Thank you, Ursula. Thank you. I'm going to be contacting you because I feel like I need to. I need to stop being a child already with my life. Just be aware I'm going to be reaching out probably within the next couple days. And thank you guys also very much for tuning in today. I appreciate you guys both. You have a wonderful night.
Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Ursula.
Thank you.
Thanks, viewers. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.